Patricia Russell, and welcome to episode 9 of the Becoming Resilient podcast. There are times in our lives where we meet certain people that when you meet them, you just click quickly, immediately. Well, I have a treat on this episode, which is actually an anniversary, a wedding anniversary for myself and my husband. And we met a couple in 2003 that have become very dear to us. And, within a very short space of all our get to know yous, we found out that our wedding anniversary is actually on the same day. We are literally 1 year apart, and Vince and Anita Alexander have become truly our family, and they are in the United States. They're in Tampa, Florida. And on this episode, I'm going to be just having a lighthearted chat with them on challenges that they have experienced that have helped to make them resilient. Some health challenges, some financial, some you're going to hear about it. Vince is a he's an awarded college basketball coach. And Anita has been working in the education field for over a decade. So I'm delighted to share them with you on this episode, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. We are hoping to do this again because really the time went fast and it was so short, and they shared some really juicy nuggets. So I hope that you enjoy it. I know you will. Please subscribe, share this episode with somebody who needs some encouragement in their marriage or in their relationships, in life on a whole. Let's go. So I'm so happy on this podcast special to have three very important people in my life. You've met my husband Wayne before. Hi, honey. Thanks for joining us. And beautiful, this beautiful, radiant picture on the screen with these two other individuals are two people that have become very close to us. And why am I having them on? Well, I'm milking something. It's our anniversary. We did not know this when we met each other, but we share anniversary days. And so we celebrate on the weekends together distantly. And when we are blessed to be together on our anniversary, we milk it. So,
Amen.
We're not physically together right now, but we soon will be. Hey. So Vince and Anita Alexander are coming to us from Tampa, Florida. And hi guys. I'm so happy to have you.
Oh,
Hey,
hi.
Dad. Hey, Dad. Hey, Wayne. Good to see you
Hi,
guys.
friend.
I'm so glad to have you on this podcast. Anita and I have talked a little bit that, we're going to do something. And I just thought, you know what? It's fitting. Let's do it today. So, guys, what year are you celebrating? I know, but tell the people what year are you celebrating?
32.
32. So just one behind us, not even 32 and 33. And how we met is a whole fairy tale, which it really was a God thing. But I wanted to ask you guys some perspective on, becoming resilient. I've always said that it's a muscle that you develop, and being married, I think you really learn about how to become resilient in situations. And I would love to hear your perspective on it's been 32 years. I know that it's probably difficult to pull back and say, well, in the ninth year or the seventh year, but what year would you say stands out as your earliest memory of when you can feel like your marriage was tested?
Oh, number 2.
Yeah, year 2.
I didn't like him year 2.
What
We
was it
struggled
about
with
year
that.
2?
I think it's what a lot of folks go through. It's the first year you're in that honeymoon and you're just so swooning in love, and you just everything is honeymoon. And then that second year, it's like, you really do put the toilet paper on the roll the wrong way, and you really do leave the top off of the toothpaste. And who are you? And why did I choose you? When we just struggled.
Yeah.
It was like, I don't get to make decisions for me anymore. I have to make decisions in consideration of my spouse. And
Mhm.
that was tough. What
Mhm.
about for
Mhm.
you?
Yeah, I mean, it was tough because, I didn't know those things initially, and it took some time to learn them. But I think the biggest thing was I didn't understand. I didn't understand. I mean, I came from a single parent, and I just didn't understand how it works. Um, I thought, well, if she's going to the grocery store, why do I need to go? I can just watch the game. We don't need both of us to go. And she wasn't that way. It was like, no, we both go. And so, it's like, dang, I got to miss the game to go to the store. Like, I'll go to the store. You stay here, and I'll go after the game. But I didn't think it was like that. I came from a single parent home, just my mom. But thank God I did learn a lot of things from my mom. I didn't learn how to put the toilet paper on that way,
He's
uh,
learned since, by the way.
but
He doesn't
I know how to put it on now.
Is it over
Um,
or is it under?
over,
oh, it's
Okay.
over.
That's
totally
right.
over.
I get mad when I'm at our place in Atlanta, and I have a roommate there, and he doesn't put it on the right way. So I'm like, man, you got to put the toilet paper on that way. That's what I've been told.
Because it's law now in your house, right?
It's
To put the
law. Well,
toilet
but for
paper.
some people, it's preference, right? Some people would rather it under, and some people rather
That's
it
right.
over. So it depends
That's
Yeah.
on
right.
your
But
preference in
that
your home.
second year, the first year, you overlook those things
Yeah.
because you're just happy to have found the one and to be together. But
Mm-hmm.
second year, those things, at least for us, they really kind of worked our nerves. And we always teased probably the first 10 years of our marriage that said, boy, if we get through year two, we can get through anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting that you say that. If you get through year two, you can get through anything. Honey, did you feel that same way in year one or year two?
Well, for some people, it's year 7 when that happens,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
It's a little bit further on down the road, but yeah, it was for me. I'm from a big family, so I'm the first of 8 children. So we had to share a lot. so
Yeah.
so now adjusting to the fact that you've got one person living with you, it was a big adjustment for me, and trying to get to that and understand that. So yeah, year 2 was a little bit more challenging, trying to deal with this one person in my space as opposed to 8 or 10 people in my
Mhm.
space. So it was an adjustment for me in that sense.
I never thought of it from that perspective. I figured that because you had 7 and then your parents, floating around, that having one person was like a piece of cake. This is news to me, honey. Just joking. Just joking. Just joking. I'm just joking. I'm just
Oh,
joking. I'm just joking. And then, as the years go on and things happen, we've talked, we've both been through health situations. We've been through financial challenges. We've been through, in-laws and outlaws. If you were to think of, I'm going to ask you separate, if you were to think of one particular area that might have stretched you, that if you were talking to another, well, not even talking to another couple, but just, just us, if there was one aspect that stretched you a little bit more than the other, what would it be? So for me, I would say, the cancer diagnosis was a kick in the stomach because it's something that I had been proud to say will never. And that's why I always say never,
Mhm.
because in my humanity, I was saying, this will never happen. I'll never, I don't think I ever said I'll never lose my job because I've lost my job a couple times, but I said this would never. And then when it happened, I was very angry.
Mhm.
And And I've talked about it before, that I was angry and that I was sort of blaming myself and challenging myself. And I was concerned about how Wayne would respond to it and whether this would pull us through or not. I'm going to take, I want to take both of your feedback on this. Honey, I'll ask you first. What was the one thing out of all of the years, can you think of one thing that stretched you a little bit more? Um, or made you, I don't want to say made you grow up, but made you have to think extra hard or change something, whatever.
Yeah, I think the whole idea of the diagnosis was definitely a grow up phase for me. Because sometimes you think you have a pie in the sky approach to marriage or to life, where things you'll just get through and love will keep us together, love will make it all flow together. But then the reality of a disease, it kind of grows you right up. This isn't playing anymore. This is real life here. This is something that's actually happening here that could threaten my wife's life. It could upend us, and the when you hear the C word, the it's not always a good report at the end. Some people they extend and they lose their life. And so it really made me grow up really fast to know that here's something that could possibly do some major damage. So there was a reality check that really hit me when this came about. And I had to really let it sink in. So
We'll go Vince first. I know it's always ladies first, but I want to hit my brother up.
Well, I think two things really stressed us. Um, the first thing I would say was when she lost her job. We were first married. She lost her job, and it was, we we struggled a little bit financially because we didn't know how to. She knew how. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't know how to manage money. So when I got money, I thought, you want something, you buy it. You don't worry about saving. You don't worry about doing all that stuff. If you want something, you go get it. If you worked hard and you made the money, you go get it. And she was more like, you need to put money up every check. Every check. You need a part of yours going up in the part. Well, I don't need to do that. I can spend this. I'll get that stuff later. I don't need that right now. So when she lost her job, we didn't have a whole lot. And I was just a teacher, not making very much. I was teaching a coach in Oklahoma City, wasn't making a lot of money, um, and it really stretched us. And I think the other thing for me was, trying to have a baby for so long. We went 16 years or so,
Yep.
trying to have a baby, and I think it stressed us a lot because I always felt for her. Like it really didn't bother me. It never bothered me that we couldn't have a natural child. But
Mhm,
I knew it bothered her. And I knew
mhm.
it was very frustrating to her. And I just wanted her to have that opportunity, and for years we couldn't. But by the grace of God and, to all of his glory and honor, we did eventually have that child, Samantha, who, stretches me even more. She spends
yeah.
all my money. She spends all my money. I
All of
absolutely
the money that you saved.
all the money that I save, she spends that,
That's right.
and I don't know how to tell her no. So it's really stretching me. It's stretching me. So
Well,
those
and
things, that was it.
no, I was going to say, Anita, we'll have to talk about that on another podcast.
Yeah.
She's a beautiful, beautiful girl though, and it was so nice to even journey with you guys back then when when you first told us about your pregnancy and we knew you before you were pregnant, and then when you got pregnant and to see the Lord just bring you through that and how you even handled that stressful moment. But to me, that was just such a great testimony, just knowing and seeing
Yeah.
you guys and praying with you guys through those things. It was
I like what Vince said, Vince, when you said that, you handled your perspective on money was different
Hmm.
than Anita's. And I think that speaks to the way that we complement each other
Hmm.
in marriage. And if you're listening in here, I think it's one of the things that people really need to understand, that men are different than women, and your background, your family background,
Yeah. Hmm.
influences and impacts how you make decisions when you get married. Yeah,
Hmm.
Hmm.
Oh, for
Hmm.
sure.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Anita, how about you?
So I think I would start off by saying we have had many things, as you might imagine, in 32 years that have challenged us and caused us to become resilient.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yes, I would concur with what Coach said. I call him Coach, but yeah, what Coach said, that those were challenging times. But for me personally, and I am resilient. Um, but I think the one that challenged me the most was when his mother became ill, and he chose to take a job in a different state to help his sibling take care of his mother.
Mm.
And so it was having to journey with him, um, being away from his family,
Mm-hmm.
tough, his wife and his daughter, right,
Sure.
and his son. That was tough. Dealing with a mother who is dying, and being in a job that he didn't take because he wanted or he sought out after that job. He took the job because he knew this was an opportunity to help
Hmm.
his family take care of his mother. And
Hmm.
so walking with him through that journey stretched me in a different way than I had been stretched in our marriage previously.
Mm. Even though you guys have, even though your lives have taken you apart because of the nature of your work, this one you found extreme much more significant.
I think I found it significant because I was at a place in life where I felt God was steering me in a different direction. We had talked about it, we had prayed about it, and we said this is going to be the new chapter in our life
Hmm.
with regard to a career passion that I have.
Right.
And this interjected itself right in the middle of that. And so that challenged me to kind of take a step back and go, did I hear from God? Did we hear from God? Did we miss the mark on that? Like, what does that look like? How do we journey down that path that we thought you were taking us down when
Right.
this new thing has now cropped up? And this new thing being so significant and so big and so
Right.
real.
Right.
And so I think that's why it challenged me specifically. I mean, we dealt with the death of my mother in our marriage. We dealt with the death of my father in our marriage. We dealt early on with the death of your father, uh,
Very early.
very early on. And so, and the infertility issues, and we've done adoption. So we've had lots and lots,
Yeah.
as you can imagine, in 32 years.
Yeah.
Um, but the reality that this dream that I have now has to be paused because
Mm.
of a life circumstance that I have to walk with you through, it stretched me in just a different way.
You just you said something that's just given me a thought, that in every relationship, and I would dare to say every life, at some point in time we go through a pause. Like something happens in our life, married or single, that causes us to say, oh, there's a bump. Dr. David Jeremiah talks about the bump in the road,
Right.
you know, where it can be a bump in the road in our personal life, personally or collectively. And so pause is not necessarily bad, but it sure does shift the trajectory,
Right.
right? It kind of changes the way you thought it was going to go.
Yep. Yeah.
And
And I like the word that you said. It shifts, and if you allow it to, it can also shake you up a little bit, right? Um, And so I think it was because I am resilient, I'm not going to let this shake me up, but
Right.
we've got to pivot.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And pivoting is very close to Vince's heart. I'm sure he uses it every day that he's with his players because, I've said to somebody that um, I think it's the one thing that we all learned to do over the last couple of years more than anything else was, pivot. Your foot's on one place, but your body has to continually shift and adjust to the circumstances. Um, I am a basketball fan, and God knows why He brought Vince and Anita into my life.
Yeah, I was
So
wondering,
Listen, I
Toronto, how did Toronto do? Did they make the playoffs?
we made it to the finals,
finals, yeah.
but we lost to Boston.
Huh?
We
Yeah.
lost to Boston, which is
Boston.
not bad because Boston made it to, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
Oh,
stepped,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Oh,
Golden
go ahead,
State took it
Toronto.
last night, so
Yes, so we made it.
yeah. But
Well, guys, I would like to at some point in time, I'd like us to connect again because this time has gone far too quick, and we could sit up for hours and talk, but I want to take this time to thank you for being in our lives. I'm sure Wayne will have something to say. I want to thank you for um, what you've contributed to our lives, which is love and is immeasurable. We love you to the moon and back, um, honey.
no, it's so good to know that you have good friends. That all through these years, you mentioned earlier that even how we met, it was a God moment back in Brooklyn Tabernacle in when you were going through your cancer treatment, sweetheart, and how we met back there. That was just amazing. But to see that down through the years, we've been able to be there for each other. If these guys are going through something, they would call us up and say, "Can you pray for me?" And vice versa. If we're going through something, we call them up and say, "Guys, can you help us to pray through?" Even some things that we're going through right now, we've been asking them to pray for us. But it's good to know that we got friends like that we can just lock arms with, even though we're thousands of miles apart. We can still be there to pray for one another. And we just treasure you guys, love you guys so much, and this relationship that we have with each other. It's just amazing.
Feelings are mutual.
Well, I'll let you guys, if you guys want to wrap up, say anything, and then we're gonna close off. I just want to give you that privilege. There was anything that you would say to a couple that was going through, or even just starting out, what piece of advice would you give them?
I'm gonna need to speak first.
You want me to speak first? I would say communication is key. I think a lot of relationships, whether they be marriage relationships, whether they be friendships, whether they be coworker, uh, daughter, mother, right? Whatever the relationship, I think a lot of times there is problems, issues, conflict. I think it stems from a place of communication, whether that be lack of communication, faulty communication, missing communication. But there seems to be a thread of communication that lives in most conflicts and issues. Um, and those communication problems can become bigger and bigger and bigger to where they become boulders, right? And it's more difficult to move a boulder than it is to move a little rock.
That's a word.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That's a word.
I would add two things. Number one, take that communication, and I use this with my peers, and I use it with myself in my own life, in my own marriage, and I call it high level communication. So not just communicating, we're going to communicate at a very high level. So it's going to be detailed. You're going to understand what I'm saying. I'm not going to understand what you're saying. So we have to communicate at a high level. Some people just communicate. I'm going to the store. Well, you're going to the store. You're going to stop by Smoothie King, and then you're going to stop by the gym, and then you're going to stop over here and do this. All you said was you're going to the store. You're not communicating. We got to communicate at a very high level. And the other thing I would say is listen, listen without being offended.
Mm,
Listen without being offended. Listen to what your spouse is saying. Sometimes your spouse is speaking and you already got a comeback. You already got something you want to say, which means you ain't listening no way.
that's right.
So listen. Don't have a comeback. Listen at a high level and communicate at a high level. And I think if you do that, you know, you're gonna have some success.
That's good word, man. Good word.
I'll have to come back because now my head is going meow, 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 meow.
Listen, there's so many things I wanted to just jump into tonight, and I just okay, we'll have to save it for another time. Like your head was spinning, I was going in so many different directions as well that we could go, because we've been all these years just knowing each other. There's so many things that we could talk about.
So true.
Well, we're
Yeah.
going to do it again. And I think what we will do is when we get to see each other and in person.
Yay!
That'd be awesome.
I can't wait.
Love you guys to the moon and back. Thank you so
Love you
much.
guys.
Happy anniversary. God bless you and continue to strengthen you in life, in love, and in everything. Honey, thank you. I love you to life too. Mwah.
Love you too, baby.
Thank
Thanks.
you guys.
Thank
We
you
love
guys.
you guys.
Love
too.
you.